Afterglow sword and the piercing light. Today we're going to take a look at both of these snipers. First, we're going to go over the perks that I managed to roll on these weapons. Please keep in mind, both of these snipers have the exact same mods applied to them. Fire critical hit damage, critical hit rate, weak point damage, firearm attack are the exact same on both of these weapons to understand what the difference actually would be. So the main goal of this video is to jump into the lab, take a look at the damage numbers, and depending on what build you're going to chase in the future, this video is going to help you to decide which sniper you want to chase. I'm not trying to maximize my damage with the Descendant mods or the buffs or anything. We're just purely taking a look at the difference in sniper damage with the exact same mods. By the way, for all the people that don't know, I do stream both on YouTube and on Twitch. And if you guys need any kind of help with any of the bosses, both on hard mode, normal, whatever it is, or if you're looking for some cool builds and a great community, I would love to see you guys live on stream. Okay, now let's get right into it. So first, we're going to take a look at the roles that we have on the snipers. On the Afterglow sword, we have firearm critical hit damage, firearm attack, and firearm critical hit rate in combination with weak point damage. Obviously, there's going to be some differences when it comes to percentages, but it's not going to be a super huge difference. You'll get a good idea about which sniper you want to chase more. Now, on the piercing light, we have firearm critical hit damage, weak point damage, and firearm attack. Keep in mind, the only perk that we do not have on the piercing light is the firearm critical hit rate, which is not going to affect the damage. So the perks are very similar. So let's start with the unique perk of the Afterglow. Let's take a look at what it actually does. So on hitting a weak point, inflict the unique effect, death propagation. On hitting an enemy commander, Colossus increases firearm critical hit rate and applies the effect to the attack. Now, the important part here you got to understand with the sniper is that you have to keep hitting the weak points. You will get a buff on the left side of your screen, and I'm going to showcase that here in a second, and it lasts around 5 seconds, I believe. So if you do miss your shots, it will go away. The good part about the sniper is that if you manage to keep hitting your shots, it will go up all the way to 6 stacks. It will increase, for example, the weak point damage by 9%. On top of that, for Colossuses, the firearm critical hit rate is increased by 22.5%. This only happens, though, when you fully upgrade the sniper. As you guys can see, it is fully upgraded right here. We also have weak point damage per stack increased by 3% every time. So this is a very powerful perk when we're talking about Colossus damage. On piercing, we have purification of light. This is the unique ability. This is where it's pretty interesting. On hitting a weak point, inflicts dispel on the enemy with a set chance. When 2 or more enemies are hit by a single shot, there's a high chance to land a critical hit on the enemies while also increasing critical hit damage and applying this buff to the attack. Now, the fact that you can remove buffs from Colossuses is very powerful. We don't know what kind of bosses we're going to get in the future, but any kind of buff that they have, for example, a defense buff or anything, you can remove with the sniper. If we get some insane Colossuses with some crazy buffs, this sniper is going to be your go-to, or at least one of your teammates should be running this at all times to make the boss fights much easier. The penetration, currently we're at 300%. I still have one more upgrade to go. Higher penetration you have, the more enemies you're going to be able to pierce with one bullet. And if you take a look at this, it says upon piercing 2 or more targets, firearm critical hit rate is at 100%. Firearm critical hit damage increased by 6%. Now, the thing is, guys, when you're fighting a Colossus, this isn't always gonna be the case. Yes, you can line up some of the little ads and take them out with a shot, increase your firearm critical hit rate, and so on. But when there's no other enemies than the boss, this perk is not gonna be as effective. When it comes to base damage, you see that firearm attack on Afterglow, approximately 114,000. And on the piercing light, it is 193,000. Let's quickly take a look at the weapon specs. Firearm critical hit rate is at 55.2% on the Afterglow. Fire critical hit damage multiplier is at a 2.36. Weak point damage multiplier is at around a 2.0. Now let's take a look at the weapon specs for the piercing light. Firearm critical hit rate is at 40%, so much lower than the Afterglow, and the firearm critical hit damage multiplier is also much lower. Then we have weak point damage at a 2.2, which is slightly better than the Afterglow. First, let's start with the Afterglow. We're gonna only pay attention to critical hits. Let's take a shot here. So we did almost 1.2 million damage right there with the Afterglow sword. Now we are going to try to keep landing those shots so that we get max stacks. And let's see what's the highest number I can reach with this weapon so we can compare it to the piercing light. Let's go. No crit there. 1.26, 0.28, 1.3. We still have the buff. Should be able to continue this. 1.31, 1.31. That is our number. Highest damage we can get is 1.3 mil, around that. Now I'm going to switch to the other weapon. Also, do keep in mind the fire rate is different. And we're going to take a look at that here in a second. I'm going to get some more ammo. Now we have the piercing light. On this one, we just need to land one crit. So that was 1.3 almost. Very close. Let's take a look at that. 1.29. So you guys can see they are very, very close in terms of critical damage. However, you have to keep landing your shots with Afterglow. Now, if you take a look at the first shot, once again, it's around 1.2. But even then, guys, they're very, very close. Let's take a shot. 1.18. Now let's take a look at the fire rate. 66 rounds per minute on Afterglow sword, and then we have 48 rounds per minute on piercing light. So overall, guys, if you are landing shots with your Afterglow sword, it is gonna be better. That is gonna be the case on a 99% of the characters. Now, when it comes to Glay, if you're using super senses, for example, and which sets the RPM to the set amount, so now you can't really utilize the faster RPM on the Afterglow sword, the piercing light is gonna be more forgiving, because even if you miss, your next shot is still going to be the same amount of critical hit damage. However, Afterglow is going to require you to keep landing those shots. It is not an easy grind, though. Let me tell you that much. It takes a lot of time to get everything, but once you do, it's definitely worth it. When it comes to the piercing light, I want to showcase, for example, the damage numbers of both of these with a build on Sharon. The build that we're going to be utilizing is with overcharged edge, which increases our damage by a lot once we take a shot from invisibility. First, let's take a shot with Afterglow. We're going to go invis. Approximately 3.3 million damage on that hit right there. Now we're going to go to the second sniper, get our invis back. 3.5 million. If you're using a build on Sharon where you're trying to hit those bigger numbers, go invis, deal damage, go invis, deal damage again, then yes, this will be a better pick. The higher the damage goes, the difference in that first shot is gonna be bigger. Now, if it was my decision and if I had to pick one sniper, which one I would go for, the answer for me personally is gonna be the Afterglow sword. Depending on the build, obviously, when I finish my Sharon build, I'm definitely gonna be running the piercing light, because the way I'm gonna be using this build is get that big damage number, wait for the invis, then do it again, and I'm gonna be supporting my team with like bigger numbers, and in between I'm probably gonna be using my primary or even some sniper shots, for example, if I have Enso on my team and I'm not worried about the ammo economy, right? But for solo play, you don't need anything, man. You just need a few shots, you go invis, you use this sniper. Once it's fully upgraded with the weak point yellow mod and everything, you are going to be deleting bosses. And I'm gonna upload that full build once I get to finish it, and I'm gonna show you how powerful it is against any boss, by the way. It's just so strong. So if you guys did enjoy this video, and only if you did, make sure to slap the like, sub to the channel, as it truly does help me out a lot. As always, guys, stay positive, stay disciplined, and I'll see you all on the next one.
Let's go! Let's go, baby! Let's go!
I mean, we literally have the best community of all time.